if we all can turn on our microphones. So good evening, honorable city council members, to our mayor, to our treasurer, our city clerk in her absence, our city attorney, chief of staff, and administrative staff. Today is Monday, August 24th, 2026. This is the City of Romulus City Council Special Meeting Study Session. This meeting is to discuss the proposed amendments to the purchasing ordinance. At this time, we'll have roll call. Councilwoman Abdo.
Here.
Councilman Bullock.
Here.
Councilman Jones.
Here.
Councilwoman Roscoe.
Here.
Councilwoman Talley.
Here.
Councilman Wadsworth.
Here.
And Councilman Wilhite.
Here.
Madam Chair, we have a quorum for tonight's special meeting.
Thank you.
The special meeting agenda is as follows. Number 1, roll call. 2, agenda. 3, discussion, proposed amendments to the purchasing ordinance. Number 4 is public comment. And number 5 is adjournment, and a motion would be in order to accept tonight's special meeting agenda as presented.
So moved.
Support.
It's been motioned by Ms. Abdo, seconded by Mr. Jones for the approval of the agenda for this study session. Ms. Abdo?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Bullock?
Yes.
Ms. Roscoe?
Yes.
Mr. Wadsworth?
Yes.
Mr. Wilhite?
Yes.
Chair votes yes, motion approved.
Thank you, City Council. We are now under discussion, and I believe to lead off our discussion will be the mayor.
Good evening, City Council. Thank you for taking time to be here today. As you guys are aware, every quarter we can find our team doing an all-day meeting. We talk about what things are working, what's not working, what we can do better at. We continue to sharpen the sword and make sure we're being as efficient as possible. In one of our most recent quarterly meetings, it was discussed, how can we more efficiently serve the community, the residents of this community? And we wanted to talk about our purchasing ordinance and how we can make sure thresholds are where they need to be. The checks and balances are still there, but how can we make sure we're as efficient as possible? Because we all know that sometimes working or doing business with the municipality is not as efficient. So sometimes if we're not that efficient, we might lose on a qualifying time that we want to do, or also delay process. So we tasked our purchasing coordinator, Christina Parker, up with looking at our ordinance, make sure we're up to date with rules and regulations. Talk to our directors and department heads to find out what they needed to do to be able to perform in their duties in the most efficient manner to serve the residents of the community, and that's what brings us here today. So I want to thank Christina for the hard work she's done in going through our purchasing ordinance, talking to our directors to make sure that she understood their needs, and also looking at other communities' purchasing ordinance as well to make sure we're in line with community standards. So that being said, I will turn it over to you, Christina, to finish up on the presentation and talk to City Council about what we'd like to see done.
Thank you, Mayor. And I want to say good evening to Mayor, City Council members, Treasurer, and thank you everybody for giving me the opportunity to come today and go over these review, the recommended proposed changes with the purchasing ordinance. So the purchasing ordinance was established by charter back in 2014. So since that time, there have been 4 revisions to it. So that would be 2014, 2015, 2016, and 2018. So we thought it was time to look at it again to see if there was anything that we can improve for our efficiency, best practices, clarify some language, just make the overall process better. Most importantly, we're not attempting to remove any controls, like approval controls that are there. We want to make recommendations that still maintain appropriate approval controls and council oversight. So all of these recommended changes, those have been reviewed by corporate council. One of the part of the review that we looked at was through NIGP. So NIGP is the National Institute of Governmental Purchasing. So it's a professional organization that specifically focuses on public procurement. So we use their guidance along with local government practices, reviewed other local governments for, their thresholds, their policies, standards as a reference and our recommendations here tonight. So I'll walk you through some of these recommendations that we have for the revisions. So we want to discuss, recommendations for improving purchasing efficiency and clarity. Get feedback from council, any concerns that you might have, and direction for how we can finalize these amendments. And again, our goal is to create a process that's efficient, transparent, and still has the accountability in place with the approval processes, and it's consistent with the best practices today. So some of the current challenges that we have today with purchasing are, one of the biggest ones we have, and one of the main ones that we were getting from a lot of department heads was the threshold limit. So that's something that's pretty outdated, so we did have recommendations as far as what the increases should be, and we'll see that in a couple more slides. Existing ordinance language, kind of defining, make more clear what the roles and responsibilities are of the department heads, administration, and council. Some of the administrative processes that are in with this causes delays after the approvals have already been completed. So there's some recommendations in there to kind of make that process more efficient. Third slide. So again, we'll be reviewing purchasing thresholds, some ordinance provisions, and related procedures regarding the second year term of council. So one of the added principles that we're recommending is to have council periodically review the purchasing threshold guidelines and procedures, and that would be done every second term of council. That way, new council members, if they're coming in, they have a year or so to kind of get acquainted with council and procedures before they make any decisions on the purchasing thresholds and guidelines that are in place. So the proposed changes are going to focus on three things. So clarification of efficiency and appropriate controls. So we want to identify who has authority, what responsibilities fall with purchasing, administration, and council. And also, we want to eliminate any unnecessary administrative delays where we've already had the appropriate approvals obtained. So slide 5, if you take a look at that. So here are some of the recommended threshold increases. So you can see our current thresholds, they're pretty low compared to a lot of communities. So we're recommending increases of, small purchases, it's currently anything lower than $1,500 to go up to $2,500. Purchases that are not, so it'd be for blankets or credit cards, and purchases that are not on a blanket PO or a credit card, we're recommending the increase be from $3,000 to $6,000 to kind of help reduce administrative burden for the lower value purchases. Written quotes, we are requesting recommended threshold of $6,000 to $16,000. So this would require departments to obtain at least 3 written quotes that are comparable. That way, we're still making sure we're maintaining competitive, processes and documenting that. The formal quotes, so the ITBs or the RFPs, we're asking to increase that from $12,000 to $16,000. So this would be more in alignment with update thresholds for that process. Public works and projects, that one, we're asking to increase it from $30,000 to $40,000. This would be reflective of increased construction costs. So that would require anything under $40,000 would have to get the quotes, 3 written quotes. Anything exceeding $40,000 would require a ITB or RFP. Replacement of failed or failing equipment, currently that's at $20,000. We're asking for $30,000, and what that does is if there's anything that would occur, failure of equipment wise under $30,000, they could purchase that needed without having to. They would at what point they'll at least do an FYI to council to make them aware of that purchase that was done for that urgent time. Piggyback purchasing, that's something that we do often. There's a lot more cooperative purchasing contracts out there that have been competitively bid that allow us to utilize the pricing and save money for us. So the council approval threshold, we are recommending going from $12,000 to $16,000. So this would be updating outdated threshold amounts, and it also help reduce administrative burden on the departments and on purchasing as well. It's one of the things that we're hoping to kind of alleviate is the lower thresholds. It does cause a lot of administrative burden as far as like having to get so many different approval levels, go to bid, things like that. That way we can still maintain our competitive requirements, but also keep things running more efficiently. So for our next slide, so this is the methodology that was used to come up with recommendations. So again, we did look at, neighboring cities that are similar to ours. We also found that this CPI index, using that as an increase for our threshold, was something that is recommended by the NADP as part of the process, the overall process, not just looking at neighboring communities, because every community is different or specific into what their purchasing needs are. So overall, looking at that over the last 10 years, we're looking at like a 32% cumulative inflation growth. So that is how we came up with our increased threshold amounts for the most part. So and our last slide is just kind of a summary of the recommended changes. I did give you guys a copy of the recommended new versus old, so that way if you had any questions, you can see exactly in the ordinance where those changes would be made. If anybody had any questions on anything specific?
You ready to take questions?
Yeah. Probably best kind of see where everybody's.
Okay, well, sounds good. Who wants to start? Stacy?
I just have a couple questions, and it just could be because I just don't know. And so I hope it's not a dumb question. So I'm going to use like when the ITB for tax printing. Okay. So is this 12,000, the recommended up to 16,000? So do you still need to do bids on that if it approved up to 16? And is that within the year or is that contract?
So it'd be contract.
Okay.
So it's 16,000 overall contract or single purchase. Anything exceeding 60,000 would require council approval.
Okay.
Or would have to go out to bid if it's over 60,000, with the exception of having like a contract to piggyback on that we could use in place of going out to bid.
Which we've done, yes. So just, so for a year usually, because it's election cycle, so then I would still need to go through the bidding process, which would be fine, but, okay. And then the other question, and I think I know the answer to this, I just don't know the process, that's why I'm asking. When we talk about just going out and let's say something breaks and you go buy something for 30, 40,000, whatever, they still have a responsibility to make sure that we're getting the best price and not getting it from your brother George or something like that, right?
Yes.
Okay, just curious. Thank you.
There are going to be circumstances where, I could say for one, like you've got one of the, say the back of the truck is out getting looked at and they're diagnosing it, they have to take it apart to diagnose it. So to get quotes at that particular time when there's a very necessity, like you need that piece of equipment.
Mhm.
So that one gets to where it gets kind of hard to get that quote because then you got to put it back together, send it out to another one, they have them evaluate it to get the pricing on it. So certain circumstances, we might not be able to get necessarily 3 quotes, but that's where we will look at each one of them individualized and make the best practical call for them.
I appreciate your answers and you do a good job. Keep it up.
Tina,
Mr. Wadsworth?
if I can go to the page number 3, it says city council approval, and then it had, the old threshold was 12,000, now the brand new one is 16. So up to 16,000, as long as it was budgeted, it doesn't need to come to council for approval. Is that correct?
As long as they have the funds, or it's budgeted, or they have the funds available for that. If it was something that maybe came up that wasn't budgeted,
If something wasn't budgeted and it was under 16, it would still have to come to us then. Am I correct?
no, it would still go through the approval process that we have in place now for up to 12,000. So we're just moving that marker up a little bit higher So anything that is under 12,000 currently has to go through all the approval processes.
Yeah, okay, but now it's 16 is
Correct.
the threshold, so if it's under 16 and it's been budgeted, it doesn't have to come back to us.
Correct.
Okay, all right, fine, thank you.
Okay, so just to stand on Mr. Robert's point, so if it's budgeted, and it's, let's say, 12,000, if it's not budgeted, if it's budgeted, it goes through the regular part, it doesn't have to come to council.
Regardless of if it's budgeted or not, anything exceeding 16,000, we have to go to council for approval.
Okay. If we get it to 16,000, okay. If it's less than 16,000, whether it's budgeted or not, it doesn't have to come to council.
Correct.
Even if it's not budgeted.
Correct.
Okay.
That's where it would go through anything exceeding, if it exceeds 2,500, it would then go to mayor, like finance would have to approve it, mayor would have to approve it, and then purchasing would have to approve it.
Okay.
So anything up to 16,000 would go through all those approval levels, depending on what that threshold is.
Gotcha, okay, and then over 16, it will come to
Yes.
council, whether it's budgeted or not.
Correct.
So, quick question, when we talking about budgeted or not, so the line above where it says budgeted purchases allowed when appropriate, what are we saying, just so I'm clear?
When they're appropriate,
Mhm.
if it's something that the department needs, not wants.
So if they're budgeted already, they still have to come through council over that threshold of 16,000?
Yes, that's how it is now currently.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
And I guess when appropriate, I'm not sure when it says when appropriate, so I'm clear.
Where you, what we're.
On that line above, where it said budgeted person allowed when appropriate.
Which page, I'm sorry.
The same page, that where it's above the city council approval, where we were just at.
For piggybacks.
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah, piggyback purchasing.
Oh, piggyback, okay.
I'm sorry.
So that's gonna be like, the piggybacks, those can be used in place of, during that 6 to 16,000 that we're recommending.
Mhm.
That can be used in place of the 3 quotes.
Okay, right.
So if that exceeded the 16,000, that would still go to council.
That's still going to council.
Yes.
So, just so I'm clear, I'm sorry if I'm making too big of it, but if, I just want to make sure I'm clear. Budgeted purchases allowed when appropriate, what does that mean? That
It may
wording?
just be bad language in there.
No, it may not be, it's clear to everybody else, but I'm just trying to make sure I'm grasping what it's saying, okay?
It might be easier to frame it up this way. What would be inappropriate? I was
Yeah,
asking.
yeah, I guess. Because if they're budgeted, yeah, I'm just a little confused with the language of it, I guess.
Yeah, there might be some bad language.
Okay.
In that spot.
I mean, it may be-
Basically, the piggybacking, purchasing, that's gonna be, anything that's gonna be between that 6 to 16,000 where you would need quotes. That can also be used in place of a bid if it was necessary for, competitiveness, because those have already been competitively bid. So those are things you guys do, award on now, as far as like using a piggyback to do like vehicle purchases or, anything that's got different pricing out there that we are able to utilize, on those contracts that were bid already. Anything piggyback under over 16,000 would still go to you guys for approval of that piggyback contract.
Okay.
Through the chair,
Ms. Abdo, I'm sorry.
not Mr. You made a comment about the department, the needs, not wants. Who ascertains the needs?
I mean, really, that's gonna come down to, depending on what the amount, the department head should be one, figuring out what the need versus the want is. And then that's still gonna go through the approval levels where it's gonna have, finance also looking at it to see if they need it, if it's something that they need, and also the mayor's office.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Mark?
First of all, I just want to say, great job on this. I read through this and all 3 levels of it, and it was really good. 39.5, I just have a question with, it's on page 3 of 9. The clarification of contract execution rules. We talked about it in a meeting, and it was the mayor and the mayor's authorized designee, but and we said that about the clerk also, and it wasn't mentioned in here, so I was just, is that,
So it was recommended in, let's see, for the document for the old versus new. So it does recommend in there, or the recommendation is that the clerk would be certifying, attesting, or otherwise executing documents when required by city charter.
Right.
So I did clarify this with council as far as whether or not this is, clerk is required to sign on every single contract. She's not. It's gonna be, basically, she would need to attest to something, or if it's something required by law, where she would need to sign.
Through the chair, in short, councilperson, the clerk does not need to sign most contracts that are there. The language that is there for the attestation and stuff is stuff that's basic in the clerk's duties for many documents.
Right.
And it's just there for clarification that we're not changing what the clerk's duties are by law. But generally, the short answer is that the clerk, even though it's been past practice, the clerk does not need to sign contracts.
okay.
That's it in a nutshell.
Okay.
Just with a qualification that, to make sure that we're not changing anything about what the clerk's role is in general.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Okay.
Stacy, did you?
I just was looking up that language just for a little bit of clarification.
Okay.
It just makes sense. You are permitted to make purchases that were included in the approved budget, but only when the purchase is appropriate and justified for the intended purpose. So, for example, $5,000 was budgeted for office equipment. The department can purchase the equipment when it is needed and appropriate.
Okay,
It does not necessarily mean that the department must spend the full $5,000 simply because it was budgeted.
okay, okay, okay. Gotcha, that makes any sense to me. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Any other questions?
I have a question, not about this, but about something else we're purchasing. And I don't know, this past week, we bought 2 vehicles, and we bought them on the piggyback thing they have, and we bought them out of Grand Rapids, Michigan. My question, and I didn't think about this last week, if there's a recall on this vehicle, or there's a warranty on this vehicle, do we have to transport that vehicle all the way back to Grand Rapids?
Yeah, you don't have to.
Pardon?
It's a manufacturer's warranty.
Wait, I couldn't hear the answer.
It's a manufacturer's warranty, so you can take it to any.
We can go to any
Yes.
dealer.
Any Ford dealership. The only reason we bought them from Grand Rapids is they had them on a lot.
Okay, all right, but I just, I've never, and after I walked out the door, I thought about that question, I should have asked it that night.
Oh,
So
fair question.
if it's a warranty or a recall, it can be taken locally to any dealer. Okay, fine. That answers my question. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else? Christina, thank you for the work you've done on this, even with the pre-meetings and just being proactive and reaching out ahead of time. So thank you so much. I concur with Mark said. You did a great job, so thank you.
To the chair, just one final comment, just to surmise this. Again, this is not trying to usurp any level of authority or checks and balances, because even though we're working, in the same direction right now, you never know what might happen in the city in years. We still need to have these checks and balances. But when I put on my DPW hat and coming from that world, some of the things that we purchase down there or we utilize are such a small vendor's world. So by the time you start calling people for bids and numbers, they know they're not getting the work, so they're reluctant to submit, because they know that we usually go a different route. They know this, so it just helps to make the process better, and especially having fewer council meetings right now. If we don't get something approved, it's gonna take longer to effectuate that. So we're just trying to streamline this and sharpen the pencil, and Christine did a great job going through it and talking to the directors, finding out what they needed, and also the directors that were a key part of this, just finding out what's the best way to best serve the residents of the city and still have those checks and balances in place. So, thank you. And again, no action is being requested tonight,
Right.
so That way we have time for you guys to think about it and give some input or feedback.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I did have one kind of like late recommendation.
Mm-hmm.
I'll give you guys all a copy of this, but this is where, in our ordinance, it defines the dollar amount.
Okay.
So I found that there's a recommendation, as opposed to having a specific dollar amount for each threshold, whether it be quotes or having to get formal bids, that it states threshold established by the resolution of the city council, as opposed to having to go in and amend the dollar amount each time.
Okay.
So say every 4 years we do change that dollar
Mhm.
threshold amount, we don't have to go in and change that amount. It's just gonna say it's whatever the threshold is that's established by council by way of resolution.
Okay.
So if that's something that, I'll hand this out to you guys, so you can look
Okay.
it over, but that's something that I think would be good, is alleviate a lot of having to change and amend the.
Okay. No, thank you. Okay.
All right, if there's no more discussion from council, number 4 is public comment. And this is the portion of the agenda for anyone in the audience that would like to address city council regarding tonight's special meeting agenda. Madam
We got any
Chair?
written requests?
No.
Oh, okay. We're gonna close that part out.
All right. Number 5 is adjournment. The time is 6:56.
So moved.
Support.
It's been motioned by Mr. Wadsworth, seconded by Ms. Roscoe for the adjournment of this special study session. Mr. Wadsworth?
Yes.
Ms. Roscoe?
Yes.
Mr. Wilhite?
Yes.
Mr. Bullock?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Ms. Abdo?
Yes.
Chair votes yes, motion approved. We are adjourned. Thank you. 7:30, everybody.